In part two of our series on reconstruction, we are being asked to really lean into our doubts and look at our doubts and then talk about it. So I'm going to sit down with the second best teacher that Brentwood has. Clint Rutledge, glad that you're here. Let's talk about that. You're asking us to sit in the space between belief and unbelief, and I got to be honest with you, I don't love that.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit why that's important.
Yeah, that's very difficult. Nobody likes sitting in tension, right? Like tension's uncomfortable no matter where it is in our life. When we feel it, a game of tug of war, like you can only do tug of war for so long because the tension gets to you. It's hard, and so nobody likes living there. But it's also the reality of where we find ourselves a lot of times, and so we can't ignore when the tension comes up. We can't just stuff it down and act like it doesn't exist.
Yeah. You talk about the fact that in times of crisis, that's when doubts, pop up.
Yeah.
When you have a crisis, or when there's just people are, in your life, or there is also space for Jesus then to meet us there. Mm-hmm. And do you want to talk about that? Like how does that work? Crisis also reveals doubts, but it also helps us to connect to Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? It's almost paradoxical because the same things that cause doubts to creep in are the same like catalytical, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Catalytic events?
Yes.
that cause Jesus to creep in those same cracks.
Right.
And it happens
that.
sometimes simultaneously. Like the story that I experienced where my son had the seizures, I'm asking a lot of hard questions coming out of that. God, what's going on? Why does this happen? And it opens all these doors, but I still have that assurance because of the experience that I know in that moment, I felt God's presence. Like I saw Jesus in the neighbor that was running towards, he showed up for me in that experience, right? So that was a catalytic experience for me as well in my faith. But it also was a crisis experience too.
Yeah, and let me share my own fear with that, is that I fear that when you really lean into your doubts and start peeling back those layers, you may also go down this slippery slope of just losing everything. And what would you say to that, to people like that are sitting there going, if I start doing this, if I start really asking really hard questions, I may lose Jesus.
Yeah. I think that's why we're so uncomfortable with doubt. I think that's why for so long, or I guess for a lot of people, we just kind of say it's not okay to doubt because we don't want to live in that space where it's uncomfortable. It's scary. It's like, if you can use an illustration, like doubt is kind of like a stick of dynamite, right? There's like, nobody wants to hold a lit stick of dynamite,
No.
but that dynamite was actually invented for a good reason, right? It was invented to help unblock something. And so, but it can also be used for negative reasons as well, to hurt. And sometimes, when we have those doubts, they creep in, that can turn into that negative deconstruction that I was talking about, where we just want to rip everything apart. And so people are scared of that process. So it's like, let's act like doubts don't exist because we don't want to deal with the pain that might come from this hard process. But the reality is, if we do lean into those doubts in a healthy way and seek reconstruction, there's so much beautiful things that can come out of that. There's so much healing and restoration, and that's where Jesus meets us, I think, in the most intimate ways.
Yeah, I even would say that sometimes I've gone to church or gone into a space with other believers who are very sure about their faith, in a way to almost gaslight myself into not addressing any doubts, and just go, no, you've got no doubts. You just have to, you were just super tired last night. You need to be with people that are certain about this. And I love that idea of that's not our goal, is to actually go away from that, this gaslighting of doubt, and instead saying, doubt's healthy.
Yeah. Lean into that tension, right? I mean, you can say, if you want to use a more like Christian-y term, use the refining term, right? Doubt's our way of God refining our faith. The process of refining is not comfortable, right? You're in fire, things are being purified, things are dripping away. That's hard, but it's so necessary.
Yeah, I really like that. What were the three things that you would suggest that we do as we lean into into all this?
Yeah, so if we find ourselves in that crisis stage of doubt, I think we, like I said, we lean into those doubts. We're honest about them. We lean into community, each other. We find a safe space to do that. And then we lean into Jesus. And those last two, I think, go hand in hand. We lean into community and we lean into Jesus. And I want to clarify that because sometimes we see Jesus clearest through others. In fact, I think a lot of times that's where we see Jesus most is through others. Like if you come through for me, if you're, we're having a conversation, you might say something that I feel like, man, Jesus met me in what you said. And so community is vital even to that third piece of leaning into Jesus.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. So if that speaks to you and you are hearing this today and you've kind of been hiding, being anonymous online, we don't even know your name. We don't know what you look like. You've never sent me an email. Oh, here, I'll put my email address up here. Just introduce yourself. Take that first step as you're doubting, as you're peeling back these layers of your faith. I just pray that you will find community here online, or perhaps you live close enough to a building and you just haven't been, either for a while or ever. And we really want to invite you. Your doubts are welcome at Cornerstone Fellowship. And peeling back those layers in community is a safe way to do that. So I hope that you've come and that you will accept my invitation. Until next time, God bless you.